Hi everyone! So today we are going to be drawing the outline for this beautiful watercolour flamingo. It's loose and it's splashy and it's colourful and it's fun. So if you're ready to draw the outline with me, let's get cracking. Before we start the watercolours, we're going to draw out a little grid in pencil which is going to help us place our flamingo correctly on the page. So this is what we'll do. I've got an A4 sheet of watercolour paper here, which I've taped down. But you can use any size page. If you haven't got exactly A4, don't even worry about it. Whatever you've got, we can work with. What we want to do, I'll show you one here, is we want to leave a margin around the entire page that we're not going to use, because then it'll allow us to have enough room in case you love your painting, you can actually frame it and you've got a little bit of clear space surrounding the flamingo. So we want to keep that clear margin if we can. So whatever size page you have, you're going to aim to leave, say, an inch or slightly less around all the sides. So we're not going to get too fancy. But for my page, which is A4 minus what the tape is covering, I am going to get my centimetres and I'm going to have a look and decide where I want my frame to be. So I'm going to say I want my frame to be roughly, let's say about 12 centimetres, because I like kind of from there to there, seems like a nice width, or even a little bit more. Let's go 13. Right, so I'm going to go 13. So very, very lightly with your pencil, so light, you just want to be able to see it, but then you'll be rubbing it out later. So very, very lightly, just make your mark across. I'm going 13 centimetres, I've decided. But you do what you do. Don't worry about it too much. And then down here, oh, in fact, let's go down here because then we can use our ruler just to kind of get a straight line. Again, we don't have to be too careful because we are going to rub these out, and actually you won't see anything along this edge anyway. But I'm just going to go down there like that, very lightly. Do you know what? I'm going to go a little bit darker because otherwise you might not see. You just keep yours light. Let me go over that one again. Like that, so you should be able to see it. And then the same are down this way. Nice and light for you. I'm going a bit heavier. And then across the bottom. This helps as well because otherwise you'll be using the whole page to paint your flamingo, and that's quite a lot of watercolours, quite a lot of work. So if we contain it in a smaller space, it just makes it a lot more doable. So that's brilliant. So now that you've got your square, what we want to do is we're going to divide this square up into sections. So you can do it just by eye, or you can do it with your ruler if you want. You're going to make a horizontal line half the way between the top and the bottom. So, what's my ruler doing? Too many options on this ruler. So I'm going to go, I'm going to make a little mark at the 11 point and a little mark at the 11 point. And then nice and lightly go across. Easy peasy. Then we're going to do the same again. We're going to work on this top half now. So we're going to go halfway between that point and that point. We just want to make a mark. And you know what? You can just do it by eye. Keep it light. Boom. And then again, we're going to divide this between the top and this line. We're going to divide it by 2. Going to do it again. A couple of little marks. By eye is fine. Keep it light as you can. And then exactly the same between here and here. You're going to go a little mark along the half, light as you can. Beautiful. And then when we've done that, we're going to work on the vertical. So we're going to go between this line and this point and this point. We're going to make a halfway. I might measure that. You don't have to. 6.5. And the halfway point. And again, really, really lightly. Gorgeous. And then we're going to divide these two sides up as well. So halfway between this point and this point, we're going to make a little mark there. And the same between this point and this point, a little mark there. Like this. And then lastly, the same again between this point and this point. Little notch and a little notch. And a nice light line. All right, fantastic. So now that we have those lines, if any of your lines are harder than they need to be, then take the opportunity now to rub back a little bit. And you can always pause the video if you need to do that. But otherwise, let's get on and draw our outline flamingo. So as you can see, this flamingo is drawn within the same sort of grid. So we're going to use our grid and copy the sweep of this flamingo outline using the grid to guide us. So what I tend to do is I tend to just work sort of at the top of his head first, because we know that the top of his head is going to hit that first intersection here. So this is what we'll do. Now with your pencil, really light, you can make as many marks as you like. Honestly, don't be too worried about this. But I'm going to go a little bit harder so you can see. But we're just gonna make small marks like this and start creating our outline. So we know that the top of his head hits the top of that square, and then it comes down to this square here. You should just be able to see that. So we're going to roughly copy this. If yours looks different, you know, if it doesn't quite match this one, please don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. These are just suggestions. Just suggestions. And if you go really, really lightly, then once you've drawn your flamingo, you can then twist and tweak and make little adjustments as you need. So this is just a kind of guide to get you started. So let's say that for the back of this flamingo, something like that. And then we'll work on the underneath of his beautiful jawline. So we know that that jawline is going to start, we know there's heads there, the next square's there, and then this jawline is going to start somewhere around here. And we're just going to bring that sweep of his neck around, and we're going to try and keep it parallel now. Now that we've got that back, the back of his head, we're going to just kind of bring that round. And at this point you can work more towards keeping it parallel rather than following the grid so much. You can just pull him right down and around, almost like a swan at this point. I'll go a little bit harder just in case you can't see. Like something like that. Okay, now this is where we'll get to the head. The best bit, we can see that his head is cutting through that left-hand square and coming down into the one below it. So we're going to do the same thing, keeping our lines nice and on a gentle curve. We don't want any completely straight lines if we can help it. And this is where we're going to pop his little forehead in. We know that his eye is going to come anywhere sort of in this section where those squares intersect. So I'm going to put a little, say, an eye like there, just under. You can put it on, you can put it under. When we've drawn it, we might tweak it, so don't worry too much. We're going to come up under that eye like this to join the eye to the body. And then we know if we go directly, the eye directly downwards, that's going to be kind of the bottom of where his skin starts. So we'll just make a little mark here, and then we can make a nice gentle sweep up, which is going to meet the underside of his neck. Look at that, gorgeous. And then we can just do a very kind of loose line going from the bottom of the eye, just to connect up with that bottom area just underneath his jaw. Hopefully yours is looking good. If not, just pause the video, go back a few steps and retrace. Okay, so now we're going to get on to his gorgeous beak. Now his beak is pretty impressive. So I suggest that we just go sort of round about here, and we're going to come out on an angle. Again, I'm always going to keep it ever so slightly curved one way or another. I'm going to try not to get too many, too straight a line anywhere. I'm going to come down into this last box and curve it. And then it's going to drop below that final box. Curve. And then come up, but it's going to be a slightly different angle. I'm going to go up a little bit higher actually. And then join it up like this. Okay, so now that you've got your flamingo, just have a look at it, see if it needs any tweaks, see if any part of it doesn't look quite right. I can see actually that my beak is not quite right, so I'm going to tweak that. I'm going to tweak that underside here. So if you're happy with yours, go for it. I'm just going to have a little tweaky. If you rub things out and you get these little grains and bits and bobs, don't use your hands. Use a dry brush or a little bit of kitchen towel, because then it will stop the page absorbing the oils from your fingers. So there you go. This is I'm tweaking this. This is art in real time, isn't it? And I'm just going to change the angle of this. Because anything goes. Anything goes. Beautiful. I'm happy with that. How's yours looking? I hope you're feeling good about yours. Pause the video if you want to tweak it. All right, beautiful. And now all we have to do now is we're done with the construction lines now, so we can completely rub out the squares and the frame line up to this point. We're going to keep the frame line here just for now. So for now, get your rubber and then you can start rubbing out these lines. Try and go lightly if you can. You don't want to go too crazy if you can help it, because you don't want to destroy the tooth of the paper. Beautiful. Ooh. It doesn't matter if you've rubbed out a few of the actual lines that you've created for the flamingo, because what you want to do now is rub them back as well so that you can barely see them. It's just a guide so you know actually where you're going to paint. I'm going to leave mine a little bit stronger, obviously, so you can continue to see my outline. So rub those back and then wipe it away with your kitchen towel. And then we're ready to move on to the next step.